Good to have you here. The 8th annual S.H.E Summit is kicking off next week right here in New York City. The event celebrates the advancement of women and inclusion within the workplace. Claudia Chan is S.H.E Global CEO, and she joins us now. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, this is an ongoing process of getting more and more women into the upper echelons of management as well as the C-suite, but also funding entrepreneurs. So where do we stand, and how help us see how the summit helps people do this?
Sure. Well, I think that there has never been a better time than now for the diversity, equity, inclusion, women conversation, because of everything that's happening, you know, in our society, in culture, building off of almost having a female president to the Me Too movement. And so private sector companies are really prioritizing diversity and inclusion in women's initiatives like never before, like really walking their talk. And also the other trend that we're seeing is that where in the past, you know, it's been, okay, a company says, these are my initiatives, but then what's the real follow through? Whereas today there's a lot of power to the employees. And so we really believe there's a lot of rising influence in employment resource groups like women's networks, and really the core focus of our conference, it's a leadership conference to really equip, educate, mobilize, activate employees in companies to really come hear from amazing speakers and bring those tools and insights back to their organization to then lead that change. But you can lead from where you are. You don't have to be a senior person. You could be, a manager or starting out and still have a voice in your organizations, and companies are more open to that today.
As I look at some of the lineup of folks here, there's some tech, but it's not all tech, right? Do you think that these issues are still particularly acute in the tech industry?
It's really, our focus is all industries, and I think that tech definitely has gained so much media because of, like Google and Facebook to, Microsoft actually just recently published their D&I research and statistics. But it really is we're seeing a lot in Fortune 500 companies. It's really all businesses today, especially the public companies, who are really taking the lead and have to be very proactive about these initiatives.
What's some of the best advice you've given someone recently about challenges they face in the workplace? Yeah,
so one thing that, our day one of the conference, it's 2 days, is really focusing on topics like, men and allyship. Because obviously, getting to gender equality is not just a women's initiative, right? We need all people. The S.H.E in S.H.E Summit actually stands for She, He, and Equity. So we need all people, men, women, everyone, really talking about these issues. So we have a lot of allyship conversations. Day two, though, really focuses on the actual, what does it take for you to have the personal capacity and energy to actually voice and lead change for these issues? And so really what I'm really focusing a lot on is getting companies to talk about mental health in the workplace, emotional health. We have a fertility session on how fertility is impacting, the decisions that women are making to stay in or lean out, and even like working families. And also Eve Rodsky is one of her book Fair Play just hit the New York Times bestsellers list, and she talks a lot about the invisible work and unequal labor and emotional labor that women face. So you have more women now, or increasingly more women are out earning men, or as women are rising into that 50-50 gender parity, they're still predominantly taking care of all the caregiving and family issues at home. And so there's a lot of unequal emotional labor that's not being talked about.
We just saw a move by Goldman Sachs. They're now going to have 20 weeks of paid parental leave for men and women. When a child is born, it used to be men didn't get quite what women would get, and they've upped what women are going to get as well. But before more about the summit, I don't want to miss where it's being held, and because people watching may want to go. So what are the details as to the days and where?
So it is November 21st and 22nd, which is next Thursday and Friday, at Town Stages, which is a venue in Tribeca. And it'll just be 2 full days of just incredible inspiration. And we've got 40 speakers lined up, and just an amazing 2 days. And I always say inspiration, because companies don't drive change. It's people that do. And we forget that. And we need people. And a lot of this work, honestly, inside companies is volunteerism. You're not getting paid to lead a women's initiative, to lead your African-American, multicultural, or your LGBT programs. So it really is, it takes passion, and it takes an employee having that passion and that energy to actually make the time and raise their hand to drive these things. And so much of, I think we're out of battery by the end of the year. We're depleted, and it's like filling up so that they can start 2020 with the right strategies and passion in place.
As you said, all of these issues are gaining more prominence, and it feels like there's finally progress being made. It also means there's a lot of conferences like this, right?
Yes.
To the good and perhaps to the competition for you. So I'm curious, you have so many, I feel like anecdotally we've seen a lot more of these types of conferences. Mm-hmm. So how do you sort of stand out? Yeah. Or are people coming to all of these because they're so anxious to get this information?
Yeah, I think that there are, when we look at the conference landscape, and that's a great business question too, is that there are conferences like Forbes and Fortune's Most Powerful Women's Conferences, which I feel like are very much apply to attend and expensive and very exclusive, right? We're getting the most powerful women in C-suite together to talk about something. I think that there are conferences that are very much focused on, this is a conference for diversity, equity, and inclusion leaders, and there are also just pure women's focused conferences, and oftentimes I think people just think diversity, they generalize it all into one bucket. So I think that if you are shopping for conferences, I think conferences are so important because you have to get out. You need that off-site leadership experience to get out of your day-to-day to actually, again, gain that energy and that inspiration to go back to drive that impact, and also the relationships that you're building. But it's like really do your research on what the difference is between all of these. Where we really specialize, I think, is bringing the champions and the change agents across different industries together. We're almost like a coalition of leaders to come together and get mobilized with the right information to go back.
Mm-hmm. All right, Claudia Chen, thank you very much for being with us on The Move.
Thank you so much.